Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are doing a dual deal this morning. Good morning. It's Saturday, the 16th of March. Do you know, I always say what date it is like I'm at an assembly. But that's probably because I'm a teacher, right? So I'm Mandy-Jayne. I'm MJ. It doesn't say my name. It does usually, but it says your name because it says me, doesn't it? And if you want to come along to the organisation that I'm promoting today, then you need to go to there, inclusion.me, because we need to include me. It's all about me. It's not, it's all about you. So good morning. You can also see that I am representing inclusion and our background has changed. I've decided to go a bit spotty this morning because we're talking about who we are. Who do you think you are, actually? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I think it's all about the intonation, isn't it? And often that's the thing that we don't talk about. And yet it's the most important part of communication. Indeed, the words are only 5% of what we absorb. So I'm Mandy-Jayne, as I've already said, and you are here. It's great to see you. Please share this space out if you are on LinkedIn Live. Now, we haven't been on LinkedIn Live for a long time, and I think people are a little bit nervous about it because it means that sometimes they might be able to, interact. But given that we haven't been in this space for a few weeks because we did a little bit of experimenting, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm up for doing it out loud and proud, to be honest. I think that there's enough of hiding our light under a bushel. So I am if you look at me in LinkedIn, it says I'm a cultural cultivator, cultivating the art of culture. I think that's called living. So yeah, I'm alive and I'm a human. And I am also a teacher by trade, which is probably why I tell you it's Saturday the 16th of March and it's just after 8 o'clock. Oh, do you know what? I've done it again. Good morning, everybody on LinkedIn. It's a good job nobody was here. I say nobody. It was Philippa and Traherne. I'm going to start again. For those who are everywhere else or hearing this later or watching this on replay, I'm always making mistakes. And I sometimes think that that's the whole point. I was literally just saying that I'm doing it out loud and proud. I'm making mistakes and developing things. And I'm okay with that. And I'm not up for this slick front face baloney, to be honest. It doesn't work for me. For a start, I can't pull it off, not adequately, without massive amounts of anxiety. So I figured that rather than try and get good at everything, which is a really big ask, I'm just going to get good at being me. That'll do. So we are talking about the inclusion of me, or www.inclusion.me, because that's what I founded. And I founded it because actually I was rebranding. I was doing what the Sunglasses song, if you know it, says, and I was getting something out of the trash and wiping it off and turning it into something new. No, I wasn't. What I was doing is I was evolving a theory. So I began many years ago with a charity called Yell SOS, Shout Help. And I was shouting help. I think you are what you think you are. There. That's the end of it. You can all go home now. It's all right. You didn't come. I'm joking. For those that are listening later, I don't mind when you hear this because it's not about who I hear or who hears me. It's about being and doing the thing. And that kind of leads me on to the next bit. So who do you think you are? 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 It really is all about the intonation in those words, isn't it? And actually, communication is, when it comes to words, it's only 5%. It's only 5% good morning. Yeah. So I've had a couple of false starts. I've been saying that 3 times. 3 times a lady. 3 times is when things go right for me. I tend to have a bit of a practice, a bit of a way of finding out how to do it, and then a bit of a bedding in process. Kind of get practiced at it, make some mistakes. I probably should have eaten before this. I just heard my own stomach. I did try, but I'm not doing very well with food just now. It's not an area of the Magnificent Seven I am succeeding at, and that's not because I'm eating the wrong things. It's because it's actually physically difficult to process and digest food. That's a difficult one. So, sorry, my stomach, ignore it. We're in inclusion. We're actually on LinkedIn. We're in Belonging in Business. And today we are promoting inclusion. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because who do I think I am? I am what I think I am. I am what I think I am because I become that which I focus on. And why is that important? Well, do you know what? Because if we don't start there, then we pretty much don't need to go anywhere from there. And inclusion has to be, for me, about recognizing where perhaps where I think I am, and who I think I am, and where I want to go, and who I think I'm going to be when I get there. Maybe also who I don't know I'm going to be when I get there. I think that's what they call faith. Because every time I go to the gym, every time I go in the pool, every time I don't eat a cake, not that I can eat cake, every time I do the things that I do, I don't do them, I don't not do them. God, I sound like that song. You know that I'm never not going to dance again. So double negative, the teachers in me are there now. I'm like, what did you just say? What? Anyway, that's what I've just said. That, you know, when I think about what I'm doing and I don't do what I know is in my best interest, it's not because I want to do it. I don't. Actually, I want to eat Haribo all day, but it makes me poorly. I can't eat anything much all day, but Haribo, it didn't make me well. It meant my sugar spiked. It made my mood bad. It affected my hormones. It made my cells inflame, and I was just one of the unlucky ones. And there's a lot of us for whom that's true. Not all of us. I know some people eat what they like, do what they want. I know there's anomalies. There's always the thing that didn't do the rule, whatever it is. Remember the exception that proves the rule. You could hear it come into my reality then. So, yeah, I'm promoting inclusion. And why am I doing that? Well, actually, I'm giving of myself. On the 29th of March, I am giving away, a whole weekend, to be honest, to inclusion, because that's what inclusion deserves. It includes me, and I include it. And that's pretty much of who I am and who I think I am, because I include myself and I include those that I care about and that which is important to me. And I focus on it wholeheartedly and I give my all. So I haven't just rocked up to speak there. I haven't just done that. Not that that's, not enough in itself, but I've put my heart and soul, my attention, my staffing, my money, my intention, and my team to this event. And I've done it in aid of inclusion, to push this fund over the line now, because it needs to be done before we're at the Disability Expo, before Accessibility Partners is there, because I would like to crown the first disabled entrepreneur at the Expo on stage in London, and hopefully invite them to a night away so that they can be treated as the entrepreneur that they are, and exposed as such, in order that their minimum income guarantee can be doubly met. And maybe now by next year it'll be that they didn't make the minimum income guarantee, but they maybe 10x it, right? In Grant Cardone's words, maybe they're 10x their future, So that I want it to be that successful now for that individual. That's the intention. That's my attention to my intention, and that's what I've done about this room this morning. When I thought about, who do you think you are? It was something that somebody said to me the other day. Who do you think you are? I was like, hang on, who do I think I am? Who do I think I am? Well, I think I'm another person. That's what I think I am. That was all I had. I didn't know that any of the other things meant that I couldn't speak up and speak out. It's not true, is it? I can, as long as I do it respectfully. So I was hastened when I started to think about who do you think you are, and we're gonna get onto that in a minute, because I feel like I haven't got there yet. And I'm just gonna I'll share that in a minute. As I was reading my Raise Your Vibration book, as I was thinking about early childhood, because I'm working with some interesting individuals at the moment, because I'm on placement, and I was thinking about the effect of that early childhood and the things that I did. And the first time I remember people treating me like, who do you think you are, was when I was 5. probably before that, but a major one was when I was 5. I went to the primary school. I'd already been to school for 3 years because somebody put me in school before I was 2 because it meant my mum could go to school and work. So she put me in this weird school with 100 kids. And it was on Broome Valley Road. And it was just a house. I now know when I think about it. With a big a bloody great garden at the back and annexes. But it was just a very big Victorian house with a really weird woman called Anita running it. Anyway, that school for 3 years was pretty much a bit like a prison. I'm not being unkind. I'm not. It was really difficult. We wore straw boaters that had elastic around the neck, around your chin, and we had to march everywhere in lines. And I had my bottom smacked on the stage. The stage was just in a room, and it was a thing. I mean, it wasn't even real. Not really. Not when I think about it. And her office was just somewhere in the attic, and it was scary as flip. And the corridor that I used to be scared of was just the ginnel, the tunnel down the side of the terraced house that felt like the moon. It felt like it was as long as going to a different country. And walking up from the front path, because I wasn't that strong with the walking business because I was always in hospital, felt like I was going to the moon. It was awful. Anyway, so I've been there for 3 years, and then I went to this primary school. I remember in there I'd been doing French and geography and history, and we were formulating, formula in maths, and I can't even describe. I had to read, wrote out loud. I had to get through the reading scheme. I had targets. I had metrics. My numbers were scored every day. I was on the hour. I was tested on things like times tables. I was forced to learn to tie my shoelaces, even though I was dyspraxic. And I was given a board, and nobody else was, to tie my shoelaces again and again, repeatedly throughout the day. Practice makes progress. Repetition is the way to excellence. All of these things were part of our structure. And then I went to primary school, and it was like being with a load of frigging animals. I did not know what the hell to do. I was 5, man. And they were running around like bears. they were throwing water everywhere. They were a trip hazard. There was risks everywhere. There were kids screaming. There was little Johnny in the corner picking his nose and wiping it on Jilly. I mean, I swear to you, it was just horrific. I was gobsmacked. I was offended. I didn't know what to do. I was like, who said they can do that in there? Has anyone looked at the flooring? In my heart, I wasn't saying it. I didn't do any of that talking. You didn't do that in Rudston. You didn't talk. It was an applied behavioural analysis school. It taught you how to behave, right? You didn't speak your mind. You just experienced it. And but I was like, I can't deal with this. I was overwhelmed. Noise, sensory. They'd managed my environment, so I didn't go do Lally. And I'm not sure which came first. Was I autistic? Of course I was. Did I become more autistic because they put me in an ordered, functional, quiet, frightening space? Maybe, probably. ABA properly makes you behave, right? It makes you behave. It does. And they definitely had those tendencies, if not those practices. If not, it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't like written into Anita. I'm not going to say her surname. She was like Cruella de Vil, honest. That woman was made because of her. When I saw her, I was like, ah! Anyway, that sounds horrible, but that's how it felt to me. So when I met Cruella, maybe that's because Cruella was made that way, so that everybody recognised the nasty person that was going to like take them out as a child. But that was what my first 3 years are about. So who do I think I am? Well, who did I think I was kicking off in a 5-year-old's classroom? I wonder if my teacher, who I'm actually still in touch with her son, I wonder if she remembers me being just a bit indignant, I was raging about that entire day. So much so that me and Ruth, I won't say her surname either, me and Ruth from the same school who can attest to the fact that for 3 years we were treated pretty difficultly. Very brave. She played the violin before she was 5, that one. Like some sort of concert pianist. Well, no, obviously not like a pianist, but you know what I mean. She was wildly good at the violin, that girl. Like it was wild, but she did it like first thing in the morning, last thing at night. She did it in her breakfast. She did it in her sleep. It was weird. She was weird. But she came to school with me and she was a bit better at being less weird than me. Well, loudly. Because when I got to school, I realised that they all talked, well, they screamed and snotted and everything. So I could pretty much start to speak a bit now and again. Not much. But I used to do it in symbols as well. So rather than talk to people, I used to step out and go, yeah, here's a little tidbit we can do with it. And I was talking to Trey this morning actually about this painting that came from the school thing, that kicking off because they were all splashing water and throwing it on. Thought they were on a trip hazard, they're going to slip up, and people were stabbing each other with scissors and wandering about with paper clips and unwrapping them and all this malarkey. I was not happy. I was 5. We were all short of having condoms on the table leg, which later on happened in school for me. I was the teacher at the time. So, anything in the classroom really from that point on happened. I mean, really, anything you can imagine has happened in a classroom. Not that you'd think anything would, but here we are, kids kicking off, teacher, great teacher, loved her very much, ended up loving her. But in that chaos, I was like, what is this? And, she took me and Ruth Allen and she went, I tell you what, you two, we've got some special Christmas pictures we need making. And we've got some extra special paint that these children can't have. Come, let's just take you to the place where you don't throw yourselves around. And we went outside to 2 easels and we were given something I've never seen. I have now. I had then. I hadn't seen it up to then. Like before I knew this thing existed, I didn't know it existed. I was like, oh my God, this is how they do it. I was 5. They brought out gold and silver paint. No, really, it wasn't on a car. It wasn't Dale. It wasn't Dale who runs Suzuki. It wasn't in his car plant. It wasn't gold and silver paint in the telly. It wasn't gold and in the telly. It wasn't gold and silver paint somewhere else in somebody else's house. It was in my hand in a pot, and we were given black sugar paper. Do you remember sugar paper? We were given black sugar paper. And I remember thinking, oh, they've given me the galaxy. And I wanted to paint the galaxy, but I knew that I wasn't capable of painting the galaxy. So I decided that I'd paint what I could. And I'm not very good at painting. Well, actually I am. But I didn't think I was. And I didn't think I was even then. Because I'd been told I wasn't. And I was 5. I'd been told in no unadulterated terms, actually, that I wasn't good at it, by lots of different humans. And actually a similar experience happened here, except nobody told me anything. But I knew they knew that I knew more than I knew. So I started painting, and interestingly, I painted circles. I was 5, right? Round and round and round and round and round and round and round in different shapes and sizes. And I have some art very similar to it right now, and it will be shared on the 29th of March. But circles round and round and round and round and round and round. And I also had learned at 5 to do an 8. Now, the reason it was so exciting is not because 8 is very good by 5. Remember, I have dysgraphia. Writing was a really big difficult. So was talking in English. I didn't really talk in English when I began English. I didn't like sentence structure. I don't enjoy it. It's not how I prefer to speak. I prefer to speak in rhyme. Now, some people call it rapping. I've just had it ABA'd out of me for now. So I used to only speak in rhyme. And I used to be able to only speak in rhyme when I was relaxed. Now it's stopped. So that was my original language. And then they made me speak English. So I'd found speaking in a different language difficult. And so my spoken English was a bit stilted. And I was very nervous. And I didn't really get my words out. And I stumbled over my words. And I hesitated. And I often went silent because I was processing. And I often sounded just a bit misunderstandable. And sometimes that's the case now. And that's okay. Because I controlled all of those stims. I controlled all of those pauses. I controlled all of that processing. And I just either went as fast as I could, or I practiced it and did it rote. Neither of which gave me any kind of comfort. So as I was painting, we were silent. They were in there making riot, and me and Ruth started. And I said to her, do you know what you're going to paint? And she went, yes. And I said, good. I said, I think I do. I'm going to paint us into next year. She went, what? And I can remember thinking, we'd been into town, it was 1976, I'm guessing, 75, 76. We'd been into town, and I can remember seeing a Boots event talking about from the 70s into the 80s, and seeing a 7 and seeing an 8 and seeing O's and seeing the big banners. And I saw this for about 5 years, but this was the first time I'd seen it. And I couldn't do 7s, but my mum taught me to do a 7 with a cross over it. I think it's a German way. So I had to do 3 steps for a 7. But 8s, well, I could do circles, right? Because I told you I could. You'll see some art soon. But I couldn't do 8s. I could only do 2 circles. So like a snowman, where you roll a ball and then you roll another ball and then you put it on top, and there's your 8, right? But that's not how you do 8s. That's not how you do 8s. And you get done if you do them another way. So all of my life, because I couldn't do joined up writing and I wasn't given a pen, and at that point they certainly hadn't given me a proper pencil, because I had those big chunky pencils for this, well, for the spazzes that couldn't write. that was it. Anyway, that's how it felt. So I was still on pencil, obviously. I was on pencil till I was about 12. And I couldn't do an 8. But by then, by 5, I'd learnt to do a figure of 8. Yes. And I also knew they were all obsessed about going from that shape to that shape. They didn't like that number 7, whether it had a wiggle or not. They didn't like it. They were all looking at 8 and 0, and it looked to me like they were looking at, like, I don't know, like into their future, like there was the future. They saw it. And we had the Smash advert, I think, about the same time. I don't know what year the Smash advert is. Somebody might be able to tell me. But the Smash advert also comes to mind, whether I knew it or not at that point. It's the kind of theorem, idea I had when I saw the black paper and thought, they've given me the galaxy. And what am I going to paint on it? So I wrote series, I drew, I painted, I created series of 8s and 0s in different shapes and sizes, some within the other. The aesthetic was definitely designed for the hall. I knew the size of the hall, and I knew what area I wanted there to be a propensity of paint. I knew where I wanted there to be darkness. I knew that I was looking at the light in comparison to the darkness, and also the moving into the future and the essence of the 80s and the fact that people wanted a greater tomorrow. And I was 5. Going to paint us into next week. You are what you think you are, because I already knew that I was the future. I was 5. I knew that these children didn't act like me, but I knew that I understood that I wanted to be like them. Actually, I wanted to fuck about. I wanted to write my bogey on little Johnny. I don't know. I didn't want to do that, to be honest. I was really taught quite a lot of disgust, and disgust is taught. I was taught quite a lot of disgust, so an awful lot of what Johnny did was really quite disgusting to me. So you are what you think you are, because I became what they said I was, because I absorbed their narrative. But at 5, I knew that they had a narrative, and that they also had dreams and hopes. And so when I think, who do you think you are? When somebody said to me, who do you think you are? Well, I'll tell you, I am the future, and I'm the future because that's the only point of being alive. Because if at that point I'd have gone, right, okay, this is my future. This is how it ends. I sit outside contemplating my navel while that lot piss about. Now, don't get me wrong. maybe there's a maybe there's a thread of that while I get on with the work, right? Because I was getting on with the painting, so we had a bloody display for Christmas, and there began my teaching, because I was actually preparing the classroom at 5. So they started training me as a trainee teacher. I was in the office by 11. Honestly, they just put me to work because they didn't know what to do with me. But there I was, doing 8s, and I was doing 0s. Now, what's an 8? Well, it's the infinity sign. And I've been drawing it ever since. The infinity sign. I thought they were 8s, but they were all over the place. And I can remember that painting, and I remember it being in the hall. And I also remember everybody in the universe talking about it. But they talked about it, but not to me. I don't remember, funnily, I don't remember people directly talking to me, I'll be honest. I don't think they knew how to talk to me because I was a bit strange. And if they talked to me, I just talked to them to death. So I think they avoided it a bit. But that was my beginning of feeling included whilst not being included. I understood what was going on. I could see everything that was happening. I knew they had to take me and Ruth out because we didn't know what to do, and they didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know what to do with these two weirdos that had been hothoused for 3 years and turned into some sort of little professors. And then they were dumped into a state school at 5 because this place had kicked them out because their parents didn't have the money and they didn't have a job there. Because, my mum didn't really ascribe to the whole not allowing me to be a human. She did want me to be catered for because I had obviously come out strange and I was disabled, and that private school meant that if I was in hospital I was in hospital, and if I was at school I was at school, and they could keep me all hours. And that's the whole point of independent education, really, is that you've got wraparound care. What you mean is you can dump your kids if you need to. That's what it means. And that you've got people there that you're not scared of, but there you go, that you have some control over. But we know that that's not true too, because in independent schools there's much less control and parents don't have a clue what's going on when they're not there. So it's just the same, except the state education actually has some, anyway, boundaries. Being who you think you are who you think you are. And who do I think I am? Well, I think I am that which I do. So there's 3 stages to that. Who do I think I am? There's the idea that I had, which happened to me when I started that painting. Why am I painting? What paint have I got? What medium am I painting in? What are my materials? What's my end result? What am I aiming for? Well, I've got the galaxy. I'm aiming for something that communicates with these humans, something I can do, something I can do competently, something that'll put me outside my comfort zone and mean I've got to share myself with people, but something that expresses that which I know at 5. So I'm still doing it. And for those of you in LinkedIn, you won't be able to see it, but for those of you elsewhere, you'll see a glimpse, although I've got the background of a poster that is going to be put out. And this is going for the event on the 29th, because I'm here for inclusion, as I said, and alive to tell the tale. My story. If you don't know my story, it's going to be filmed, it's going to be processed, and it's going to be live at Cardiff Bay, a beautiful Pendine house at Cardiff Bay. Blackwater Gallery is where we're at. What an incredible event. What an honour it is to be there and to have such a fantastic environment in which to speak on the water's edge, overlooking Cardiff Bay, Easter weekend. You can't really get a better gig than that, to be honest. And it's free. That's the beautiful thing. We're just looking for some donations to inclusion to get that 10,000 over the line. It sounds like a lot, but we've been raising those funds for nearly 2 years, right? And actually it's time. That means that we can crown the first disabled entrepreneur at Disability Expo. I'm going to ask a very famous Paralympian if they will help me by crowning them. So, and it ain't Karen Dark, although she could do it if she wants. I'm going to ask somebody actually that rolls through the world in a similar way to some of us. And you never know, do you? Because you can only ask. So who do I think I am? I think that I am a cultural cultivator. I think I have been from the age of 5. I think I was looking into the 80s when I was in the 70s. And I think I'm looking to 2050 and we're at 2023. This age to have a 10-year plan. I've already seen beyond 2050 because I was Imagineering at 5 when I looked into the 80s. And I'm Imagineering now a world where my hoverbike takes me to speak to the groups of people that need to understand about inclusion in 2050, because why not? I saw a 90-year-old the other day who's living independently with extra care in a beautiful flat that I would live in tomorrow with 3.5 hours a day of care and support and people running to her needs and making sure she's safe and supported. And if that's how 90 is, I've never really seen a 90-year-old I wanted to be, but I have done now. So now I just need to find 117, 120, 130-year-old. I can remember looking in the Bible, reading the Bible and going, wow, 130, what would that have looked like? And I think we're on our way to being able to see it, certainly with the secrets that rich people have. And I'm telling you, they have. I'm uncovering some of them. And as I do, I'll be sharing them just like I did into the 80s, as I shared the idea that they were after all of the smash advert stuff. They wanted the future. I almost feel like I knew the computer era had happened before I understood anything about the home computer. It almost felt like I felt the internet arrive, and I don't know what year that was either, but I'm sure we're going to find out. It's like I knew we had a different way of connecting with the universe, because I do believe in the evolution of AI, right? That now we have a way of interacting with our things. We used to say that things are sentient. Well, actually, we're creating them to be, because they are being automated at our will. And I think that's what we think of as when we made our universe sentient. And I think that when I was alchemizing with the paint, when I realized what the point was, because I saw the end result, and indeed when the art pieces went up, I knew what they were after. And I'm crafting something now, because that's, for me, who I am. I'm an alchemist. I'm a crafter. I'm a creator. I've been saying for a long time, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm not an artist. I'm not a counsellor. I'll never be a therapist. I don't want to be. I never wanted to be a social worker. I definitely didn't want to be a therapist, because I ascribed these ideals to it, or these ways that I had to be, like being a kid. Like, what? I can't go in there and do that. Equally, I don't want to be grown up and I'm 5. I do want to go in there and play. And yet they gave these ideas of what parameters were. Well, who do I think I am? I am that which I imagine. Then I am which I practice. Because I painted then, and I've been painting in gold and silver ever since, do you know? And I've been challenged this week to get my art out. Wow, I tell you what, I've never had such a dirty phrase say to me in all my life. I mean, I said it, get your art out. They said, could you share some of your pieces for the event? I was like, what do you mean, share them? What? Show people out loud in a space. What? Mine? My doodles? Nah. I've got some clients. They have some stuff. And they went, no, I don't think it should be about your clients. And I was like, are you sure? Funny, isn't it? That way back when I was 5, the idea that I was taken out to do art, because I was especially good at the conceptualization of it, or the use of the pen, or the pencil, or the paint, when I was given free rein, not when I was forced into some sort of graphical representation of shape that they decided, predetermined shape making. What? Not very good at it. Good at practice, but it's just not my way. When I was given free rein and some way of working, then I created stuff they put on the wall, right? And I'm pretty much there now, when I'm allowed to create, co-create with other people, when I'm allowed to alchemize, when I can be who I am. Then when what's in my head, in my heart, in my plan, in my journaling comes out of my sleep, that comes from my sleep talking, I record my sleep now and listen to it, comes out of my reading, my learning, what I focus on, what I focus my intention on, what I make, these events, this alchemizing of people, of bringing people together for one common cause, all of this creates who I am because of the practices that I do. So we are what we do, we are. It's not who I think I am, it's who I do I am. And that's how I be who I am. And what I've also realized, and of course I've known it all along, is that the more comfortable I am, is the more authentic I am. And we realize now, because we've just measured it, that authenticity is 40,000 times louder than any other emotion. And that includes shame, which I thought that would be the loudest. I did. Shame. And happiness. And somebody said joy. And a couple of other people have said, it's fear, right? Would be the loudest. No. Authenticity, 40,000 times louder. I've been saying it forever, that the truth rings louder than anything else. So who do I think I am? I think I am who I say I am when I do what I say I do. And then when I speak with authenticity, because what I speak is the absolute truth. Now that is never entirely true, because we are subjectively expressing that which we can only express now, and much of what we need to express, in fact all of what we need to express, isn't expressed yet because it's not expressible. That's the whole point of becoming. That's what gene expression is, when we are expressing our genes. Now I believe that we can only express our genes sensibly without inflammation when we express them in equilibrium, and equilibrium is achieved through the Magnificent Seven. Eat right, move right, think right, drink right, poop right, talk right, sleep right. makes your be right, makes your parasympathetic system and your sympathetic system sit in equilibrium. So our expression then is equal. Now, that does not mean we can't get excited. We're allowed to excite our energy, right? But we have to bring it down again. What goes up must come down. We can't just excite the shit out of ourselves all the time, because otherwise we'll burn out. When we burn out, we have to take loads of time off, scrambling back up to get where we were again. So it's not worth it. So we need to create equilibrium. We need to create order in chaos. We need to take ourselves outside the classroom, paint the painting, and then decide which bits of the classroom we want to engage in. We don't just say, fuck the classroom. That's not what we do. We don't separate kids from the classroom. We don't make separate schools. That's ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I'd like to talk to the Department for Education and the leader of whatever the hell made those decisions, because it's ridiculous and it has to be halted with immediate effect. An ALN school, give me a break. So we can't be doing. See, me and Ruth, where would we be now? Where would we be if I hadn't had to grapple with the others that weren't like me, in order that I could be included in a society that didn't yet understand who and what and how I was? Who did I think I was? Well, I didn't know I was autistic, and it didn't matter. They didn't know I was autistic, so it didn't matter. They just didn't know what to do with me, and they ascribed it to my schooling. Then they ascribed it to my family. Then they ascribed it to my ill health. Then they ascribed it to my hospital visits. They'll ascribe it to whatever they want. It doesn't matter. What does matter is when they label something and then segregate a race of people or a group of people or a whole nation of people because they don't know what to do. Who do I think I am? I think I'm a cultural cultivator, in that maybe I don't always agree with the norm. And maybe we're sick of being expected to be sheeple. Somebody said to me the other day, well, you see, it's all this rights-based stuff. You've got what you wanted now, see? You have to be careful what you wish for, you lot, you do. I'm sorry. Yeah, because you had a right to it. Now look at you all asserting your rights. We've got everybody asserting their rights now, like everything about everything, you woke lot, like literally. You were the beginning of it. You that said that you wanted to be able to get on a train or a bus. Come on. I mean, they're not quite as overt as that. But yeah, you've got your rights base. And I've even heard it from other disabled people. Well, it's because they're demanding, aren't they? They're pitching us against each other. She expected she could get that through the Nina Maria Pink. Can you believe it? Like, really? Let's all judge each other for the type of computer we think we can use without our hands because we're tetraplegic. Oh, fucking lucky she is. She can use a computer with her voice. She got a MacBook. She can't use her arms. Shut up. If you were like that, wouldn't you be all right with having a MacBook? Do you think that's really a really big thing to just shut up now? Let's not pitch each other against each other about the reasonable adjustments we have. Let's not pay disability bingo. She got that, why can't I? It's not about that, and neither should the assessors be treating it that way. Who do I think I am? I think I'm a person that's got a right to be part of that classroom. I think I'm a person that probably knew more than all those kids put together right then, right there. And yet I had least attention on account of the fact they didn't really know what to do with me. Should they have excluded me from the classroom and put me in an ALN class? Would that have given me a calm environment in which to grow? Yes, probably. And then I'd have been even weirder and not fit in with anyone ever, maybe. Anyway, I don't think we can do it that way. I don't want to just sit with autistic people. I don't know about you, but some of them are really weird. I don't just want to sit with blind people because I'll be honest, some of them are really insular. I don't just want to sit with deaf people because, do you know what? They really are just a law unto themselves. And that's just carte blanche racist of me or whatever it is when I'm talking about an ableist, I don't know. But I don't just want one thing. I want everything. I want society to reflect society. And we can't do that by segregation, alienation and going, well, they understand them. So off they go understanding them. We've got to live in the bloody world. It's ridiculous. So I'm putting an event on the 29th of March. And I'm going to be talking about my story, and that story about one piece of art, and you're going to see some art, will probably feature at some point in that time. Probably not heavily, from what I remember, but I think there'll be a nod to the art that you'll see in the space that we are. And I will be sharing that art, whether I like it or I don't. Because just like that piece of art in 1970, whenever it was, and I'm quite sure that Mrs. Naylor, my teacher at the time, will tell me it was beautiful. I don't think she ever told me at the time. I think everybody else talked about it except at me. And, I think that's been about me without me a lot of my life, because they didn't really know what to say, that awkwardness. So who do I think I am? Who do you think you are? Was what somebody said the other day. I think that I am an inclusion cultural cultivator. I am a disabled person in 2024. And as I looked into the 80s and I realised we were moving to the galaxy, we were looking beyond us, we were looking to the Smash advert where the aliens were on there with that hysterical laughter going, when Smash makes mash or something, mash makes smash, that one. And they had the potato smashers as hands. I remember they were aliens, and I want all aliens to look like that. But I remember going, there's a world beyond me. There's aliens out there, maybe. They're on the telly anyway. I don't think they look like that, but people think that. And they're looking into that, and they reckon that by the 80s we're going to be out there. So I got loads of people to move to know in my lifetime. So as I was doing the 8s and the 0s, I probably knew infinity was an 8 sign. I knew it was important I could draw an 8. I was definitely showing off for the fact that I'd learnt an 8. I was drawing my future. I was painting us into next week. Somebody must have said that to me, because that wasn't a 5-year-old's language. Painting us into next week. I don't even know where that comes from. But Ruth might even remember it. I wonder if I'll get to meet her again. So those stories and many other stories are going to be part of my story series, because at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. I'm a gypsy. Let's be honest. I'm a bit of an airy fairy angel lady. I would say that I'm probably, when I say I'm an alchemist, I'm probably a bit of a fortune teller, in that I've told my own fortune. When I was talking about this today, I'm charged to see if I can find the ridiculousness of something that, there we are, that I found. I may not actually. I may not. No, I don't think I can. That's the one that we had earlier. I don't think I can. This shows you that you should look before you do. No, I'm not going to find it today. That's all right, because if I'm meant to, I'm meant to. We are already at 22, and you're welcome to come up and talk with me. I am with somebody at 9 o'clock. So this post, you're going to see it on LinkedIn. You're going to see it everywhere. As I'm here for inclusion, I'm alive to tell the tale, and it's my story. We're going to be recording it. We're going to be putting that footage out, although there will be donations based afterwards as well. It will just be using this QR code for you to go and see what we're doing together. You can register there. There's a QR code. I don't know actually if you can see it. You can, whether you can actually do it when you're on the other mediums and you're watching this back, I don't know, but it'll be out there by Monday, which is useful. And of course, we've done it a couple of weeks beforehand. The team's growing in their capability and competence. We even have a schedule for the day. The cameraman is booked, and the event's beautiful. Our social media manager is running around Cardiff doing all sorts of beautiful things in readiness, and I really feel like who I think I am is somebody that has a fantastic team around me. I feel included. I feel that I include other people, and I feel like we have only just got started. The first disabled entrepreneur is going to be groundbreaking, and it is what the government need. They know that the system around us needs to be circumnavigated. We need to be integrated into it, and there needs to be a lived experience in that. We know that the tacit information, the tacit knowledge, that's the embedded knowledge that we have in our system as disabled people, is something that is not something they can buy. They can't train it into people. It's just a lived experience that nobody can coming up that can that can replicate, and that's why we need to be back to apprenticeships as well as degrees. We need to change school completely. Matt, you're somebody that good morning, that likes the idea of changing school completely, don't you?
Morning, NJ. Morning, everybody that's here. Oh, well, you know what? I'm a massive fan of change, a huge fan of change, because ultimately, I believe it's one of the things in life that we can't stop. Change is all around us, right? And if we don't embrace what we can't control, then we're certainly going to lose the battle, because that's just it, isn't it? If we can't control it, we're doomed. We're stuffed, because we just put all our energy into something and constantly wake up every single day hitting our head against a brick wall, the same wall, only our heads change shape because of the amount of times we keep hitting that wall. And possibly there's not many brain cells left at the end of a week, let alone a lifetime. So, you know, MJ, I'm just listening to you this morning. I've been... I'm multitasking again this morning. I find Saturday mornings a bit like that, but I've got 2 teams going on at the moment, and one is doing a huge wedding in London, and so I've been monitoring social systems, etc., to make sure that everything is running. So I've been listening intently in the background, and you capture my attention as usual in the the way that you talk. You beautifully flow with words. And I've said it before, you just remind me of the female version of Russell Brand. And the way he speaks really just makes my ears go, ting, let me tune in. And MJ, you've done the same. Your story going back right the way through early childhood, at school, I think the way you described that, I clearly think, this has got to be recorded, right? Because I would love you to listen to that back, because you never heard a word of it, right?
Not a word. Not a word, Matt. Not a word.
But there's so much in what you said. And it's really, really, really helped me identify at a deeper level my journey. As you was talking, I was sharing in my mind my journey, and I was thinking, do you know what? Yours sounds a traumatic experience as what mine did. And that's just, if we look at how many people are in this room at the moment, there's not many. And I think, wow, if we are all in that zone, just imagine how many more millions of people have shared that experience. And there's one common thing about that. It says something about school. School is shit. This is how it is. It's just how it is. There's no other way around it. And it's not really their fault as such. It's the people that are guiding the school. Because school is just a building after all, but it's the people that show up inside it that are supposed to be the people that educate us to become great. Well, if we look around us right now, we might be becoming great. It's definitely greater than we already were, but we definitely didn't leave school great. We just left school. And personally, I got kicked out, so I didn't even leave willingly. I got thrown out.
They were begging me to leave, Matt. Begging. They were with the door going, "Can you go yet? Is there any chance you don't have to? You've had a school nurse for the last flipping 11 years. Like, we've had to employ enormous amounts of people. Can you piss off now?"
And I get it. And you know what? I mean, I've been following you now, it's coming on probably nearly 3 years. And the more I listen to you, the more my mind opens to the awareness of what's possible, especially in the world of inclusion, right? And it's not about disability, although I do love the disability bingo thing. I just think, wow, do you know what? Put that on stand-up, man. That is hilarious.
I am doing.
Right? So
this summer in Cardiff at the Glee Club, I'm on.
Yeah, no, definitely. And actually get the audience interacting into some disability bingo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ingrained in the thing that it's real, it exists. We're here. I love it. And did you notice I said we're here?
Yeah.
I don't not include myself in disability because I've experienced disability.
It's a good job, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. To go back to those 2 questions you asked as well, MASH, well, the first launch of the MASH advert was 1973.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and that was scary stuff.
That is what I knew. See?
And the internet, and this might surprise a few people, it definitely surprised me anyway.
What to? What?
1st of January, 1983.
Fucking hell, what?
Yeah, that was the first launch of the internet.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, I knew we were going to communicate with aliens back in 1975.
Well, let's think about it. Let's think about that for a minute, because it was an important point that you made when you said that. And I thought, you know what? I don't know if it is a special power. For me, I describe it as a personal power that I can go deep inside of myself, that I'm showing myself that I'm not afraid of myself. I'm definitely not afraid of the world, because I'm enabling myself to connect in that deeper sense where I can open up my mind and go way out there where people just look at me and think, Matt, you need to calm down. You need to shut that filter down. You need to put a filter in place, my friend. I'm like, why?
You're going to be mad. You're going to put you away, mate.
Exactly. You know what? It's funny because here I stand at 53 and I did the other day, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I thought and I thought, you know what? This is manifesting something. And I don't know if you remember, I was going through a difficult Friday. Yep. I had a very difficult Friday.
Yeah.
And it was a build-up today. It wasn't just a Friday. No. It was a build-up.
Never is.
On Friday, I exploded in the sense that, well, not exploded, I combusted. And I thought to myself, hang on a minute, with my points of view and the way I feel and my journey and where I've come from, but more importantly, where I'm heading, my mission, who am I? Who do I want to help? Well, I want to create certainty for people in the world. I want to provide thoughts of hope, different perspective, etc. If I was to share any of this stuff to the wrong people, meaning that like the police, because they might be arresting me on the side of the road and put me in front of a couple of shrinks just to analyse me and see where I'm coming from, I'm definitely, I don't know if you've ever seen Terminator, but I'm definitely going to get strapped up, thrown in a cell, jabbed up and just to slow this guy down, because he's nuts. And he's so vulnerable. I don't know if we can trust him out on the streets. Do you know what I mean? He's capable of anything. I'm glad you got that right, but what's wrong with that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's capable of anything. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I didn't need a teacher to put a fucking lid on me and stop me from jumping up and down.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
so, you know what? Your story is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I really do suggest strongly that you take some time out sometime before possibly the 29th, because I know you've got a big event coming up there, but definitely before us, and listen to yourself and listen to that journey, because timelines are important.
They are.
For me, I believe a timeline really gives you that opportunity to look in depth, reflect over time, at a time when you're in a position to go, oh yeah, what about this? And you know what? It just really makes more sense as to why we've ended up where we've come, when we can see all the things that maybe just turned us in a different trajectory at whatever point in time. And other than that, it just remains a real big cluttered thought in our heads that we can't make any sense of.
Indeed.
And then life is just like that. It doesn't make any sense, right? But if we can get it out, visually look at it, then, and that's what you've done. You've done that in an auditory way that, wow. I mean, I don't know if you've done a timeline or not, but you took a big chunk of your early years and you shared that with us. And I'm truly grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. I think that when we're trying to think about education, everybody's banging on about it. I'm really quite frightened. It's not just education, right? It's everywhere. I went to something called a Family's First event the other day. And actually, if I translate what that means, it was all of the organisations that are gathering together to garner resources to put into autistic children that are alienated from the mainstream and put into the ALN system, which is going to be kind of in between special school and mainstream. So this is the middle group, and they are garnering all of their resources. They're getting together and they're having these events to try and show families this is what's going to happen to their kids. And it's like an army of additional learning needs providers, but they don't really know what the goal is, and they don't really know where they're going, and they haven't talked to each other about where they're going, but they're all getting together in different places to say that they're going to do their bit for this great this great victory that they've got to have, but I'm not really sure if they know what they're going to do with all these kids once they've tried to integrate them.
So it's already a problem, right?
Oh, it's massive.
So
it's huge.
A problem. It's another problem they've just created just purely because they haven't really found a solution.
No, they're trying to throw shit at it.
People. The solution isn't fixing people, is it? The solution is how we fix people, how we make people grow, how we help people encourage growth.
Yeah, how we accept ourselves, actually, and each other.
Absolutely.
And that's the big thing, because, of course, it's developed on let's put them into a rank order, let's put them in rank of age, capability, and then if they are below this certain criteria of what is normal, this normalizing of our experience. If you look at how I'm trained in a life course approach, but it's quite an out there theory that Erickson had for social workers, that we are interacting with our environment in a structural way, and that our family and relationships around us help us interact with that environment, and that we are impacted by our parents and all of those substructures, and that we impact those. Like, this is groundbreaking stuff, right?
No, I agree.
But it shouldn't be. Should it?
But the world is a mess, and I've got some theories. I'm not going to share anything on here about some of the stuff that I talk about, because somebody would say I'm a dictator. No, that's something that Saddam Hussein would have said. And it's like, hang on a minute, no. There needs to be a new direction, because all we're doing is the same thing, listening to the same people that are leading this country and leading the process of this country. All they do every day is turn up in a room, argue and battle with each other. They don't actually make any progress. They're only in it for themselves. They just want an autobiography and some speaking gigs at the end of it all, just so they can top up the purse. There is no other reason I can see for anyone right now, apart from the quiet one sitting in the back, possibly just watching all this stuff go on, going, what the hell? That person's called MJ.
yeah, it is like watching a jungle or a zoo or a bear garden or a 5-year-old classroom, right?
Absolutely. And why do we think the world is in such a mess? Well, this country is in such a mess because it's okay to argue. Every day we should have a battle. There is no common ground. We're not going to agree to move on and enjoy ourselves and have a laugh. What it's all about penalties. You don't do this, you don't do that, you're going to get penalised. And it's like, oh my God, it's a mess. And that's where I have to stop and go, hang on a minute. Yes. That part I can't control. I see MJ getting in there and she can start taking control. And you know what? I would support MJ wherever that was needed, wherever she needed me. But at that point, that's why I can't watch the news.
No, I don't.
I'm not going to say silly me. I'm going to say tactful me. Try to revisit something that I believed was not doing me, serving me in a good way. And so I took a long break from it. But then I started realizing, hang on a minute, there is some things going on right now, some significant little changes that really are affecting us and our business and our community. So let's just try it, Matt, because I'm fed up with shouting at Alexa every hour, because it's just really speeding up the process of the week, knowing that every hour goes by in 30 minutes. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Every hour, Alexa, shush, because the news is coming on. And I tested it, and I was right. Stay away from it, because you know what? I can't control that stuff. There is nothing good. There's nothing there serving me. It's just a real
rhetoric
money machine that's destroying lives, destroying minds. And I put my mind pretty much up there in terms of what I can deal with and how far I can go.
Yeah.
But there's millions of people that just can't, and they watch this stuff every day. And it worries me.
Well, I think you've got to stand. I said 3 years ago at the beginning of my recovery from hospital, as I watched them try to kill me and fail. And eradicate me as if I wasn't important, put the DNAR on me in the hospital when I wasn't even aware of it, and fighting for that to be ridiculous as I started to realise that I had a chance to live was just ludicrous. And it's the same irony as looking at the classroom and going, what the fuck's going on? I still look now, but I said, we need to stand really carefully at the boundary of our mind, because everything that they were saying to me whilst I was intubated actually infiltrated whilst I was in that intubation. I remember the dreams, so I was absorbing that even when I was asleep. That's what's happening when we're listening to, I mean, I know I'm talking, everybody knows this, subliminal processing, but the news, the narrative, I even hear it from people who go, well, you see, these children, they're all rights-based. Well, actually, they wouldn't be so rights-based if the responsibilities of the state that they stated they had been met. If when they went, they were safe. If when they went, they weren't bullied. If when they went, they were offered an education that gave them a chance to listen and think and express and become, maybe they wouldn't be so woke. So I just wonder whether it's not a balance between rights and responsibilities myself. There. Off my soapbox now. Treherne, morning. Trey, how are you? Thanks. Sorry to be a pain and not actually talk to you for ages and ages. We kind of took over the stage. Are you there?
Morning, MJ. Can you hear me?
We can. How are you?
I'd like to actually start by posing a couple of questions based off what you just said. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you talked about an interaction with someone that you said talking about rights-based.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so you don't want people to understand their rights. What would you have them understand then? Right? And then the same person said woke, which I hate the word woke because of it's the etymology, which we're not going to get into here. But okay, so you don't want people to be awake. Would you much rather they be asleep then? What do you want exactly? Because all of these people that say these kinds of rubbish, there's something which, when asked what they want, they can't tell you.
Exactly.
And what a lot of that is based on them feeling a lack of respect. They feel they've had a lack of respect in their own lives. So they feel like they have to then go to get it from other people. But in terms of the main question of the room, and I'm going to say something else, a quick diversion. I want to say, Matt, I've heard you speak a while on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, mate. I love where you're coming from, bro. Yeah, you sound like you were a 90s jungle rave at one stage. Maybe just chill back with that in the armchair right now, but I thought I'd drop that in there. So moving on to the question of the room, and you asked me directly, who do I think I am and where do I belong? I believe that the identifiers that I can use, so I'm a rapper, businessman, music technologist, blah, blah, blah. I believe that my sense of belonging is deeper than that, and I believe that I can belong exactly where I want to be. I can believe I want to belong to what I want to be with, and I actually believe that I actually have a right to belong, generally, regardless of what anyone else might think or say, because more time, a lot of people don't encourage, disabled people aren't encouraged to think about where they belong, to think about what they want, to plan their future. Because I'll tell you all straight up right now, my ability to plan the future is actually bloody awful. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. But that's because I grew up in Braille jail and special education, because when you've had a lot of stuff done for you, your ability to plan your future and find out where you belong is going to be limited. And another thing we have to remember is that people talk about teenagers and their difficult years and all this. Well, you as a teenager may have had experiences that you wouldn't want for your children. I know many of you here are parents, but we have to remember that those experiences that we've had as teenagers, they can sometimes grow us still. And disabled people quite often haven't had certain experiences, so they're not grown. So we have to find different ways of growing. But, I think it took me a while to find my sense of belonging. And I think I'm only just beginning to find it, to be fair. And, for me, belonging is whatever I want to shape it into. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And sometimes belonging is not only a thing of need and want, it's sometimes a thing of have to do. I have to belong to places. I have to go in certain places. I'm only just beginning to understand how to relate to money properly. Yeah, and I've made a few mistakes along the years, and I made a few mistakes recently. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I think another thing is that, and I'm going to say this is probably another topic on the time, but the way that disabled people relate to money can sometimes be a bit fucked up, because again, if you've had stuff done for you, if you've always been provided for in those ways, you're not going to necessarily have the skills or the mindset to crack on through in the way that you need to. But when you develop all these things, so like mindset, or you understand how money works, or blah blah, it helps you develop your sense of belonging. So in a way, when you say who I am, who do you think you are? Well, I think I'm a person who's very much developing their sense of belonging and working out what that means, and working out also where do I want to belong and where do I need to belong. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking in that moment, outside that classroom. Like, do I want to be in there? Yeah, there's an element of me wanting to play in the water and do some of that daft stuff and enjoy myself and not be out here being serious. But equally, I want to be able to belong to myself and be out here in my own thoughts, being able to be who and what now I am, whilst I learn to navigate their noisy, crappy shit that I don't really understand.
I think one of the things that we have to reconnect with, and I'm going to say it, and I've said it again, but I'm going to say it. One of the things I've noticed with the self-development movement from an outsider looking in, everyone's so serious. We've got to focus on our goals, yeah. But one of the things that we've lost as adults, and I think one of the things that gets lost in the self-development movement, is you've got to have space to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and play also in a childlike way. You've got to reconnect with a real child. It's so important. It's so important, yeah?
It is.
And I'm sorry to say it, but I don't hear this being talked about in self-development. No. It doesn't get discussed. What's the thing that people, a lot of self-development speakers, what's the thing you hear them do the least? Well, the thing you hear them do the least is laugh. They don't laugh, they don't joke.
No.
They don't laugh at our joke because they think, oh, it's so serious getting our goals. Well, yeah, life is serious and you have to take applying yourself a bit seriously. But don't take yourself so seriously you can't have a laugh, yeah? And if people are wondering, like, a lot of people and stuff are like, oh, well, people mock us and they take the mick. And yes, it's because you take yourself so seriously. If you're going to take yourself so seriously and walk around in a suit, yeah, and just be in a
There's
suit,
nothing wrong with walking around in a suit.
You're going to open yourself up to ridicule.
You're allowed to walk around in a suit. Although I can remember, right, and this is another story for another day, but when George came to our house, that was my stepdad. He's the man that we moved into when I was 11, when they wouldn't let me come out of the hospital. When he first came round one Sunday afternoon, me and my mum was ironing, and I was watching a Sunday afternoon black and white film. And you won't remember, well, you won't have ever seen a black and white film, which is something that's a miss, I'm afraid. But the change from black and white to colour was tremendous. And I was watching a black and white film.
I haven't seen Maybe
forever. And on a Sunday afternoon. And he turned up, right? Sunday afternoon after he'd been to the golf club, so he clearly had a pint. No, never more than one, but he'd had a pint. So he had some confidence, bravado. We put his car on our drive. He had a bloody car. Like what? He had wheels. Like what? That's posh. He came in. And he disturbed my black and white film. But do you know what he was wearing? What I said, oh, you've got a matching suit on. Because my dad wore a jacket if we went somewhere posh, but it never matched his trousers. It was just a suit jacket that they got off the jumble sale that he put on because my mum made him if we went somewhere like a funeral. So this bloke walked in with a matching suit. I'm like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are with a matching suit on a Sunday afternoon in my film? Get out. So yeah, I judge somebody in a suit too, Charlie. But I don't think it necessarily means they're bad.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with wearing a suit inherently. But the point still stands that if you walk around being all serious,
yeah, with a briefcase,
you're going to open yourself up for a lot of ridicule.
I'm not sure you advocating for people taking the piss out of ridiculousness is reasonable, because I think we have to just accept everybody for what they do, haven't we?
I think there's acceptance, and then there's that.
I think this might be bullying. Are you sure we're not bullying?
What's that? What even is that?
Polite bullying.
Oh, bullying. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel to a certain extent that there are some people that need to be laughed at because of the way they behave, and I feel that the current government incumbents are one of them.
You can only do that when we're in Glee Club and when you're part of the audience and when you and I are doing disability bingo together.
No, because I'm gonna do a sit down. I'm gonna do sit down comedy.
You can stand up though. I do sit down. You do stand up.
No, but I'm
nowhere.
When I'm bandit, I take people's money. Yeah. When I'm bandit, I take your money, bro. Yeah?
You're funny. Yeah, you have to watch blind people. I think they're just, well, I just think they're knowledgeable, right?
You'd be surprised.
That's not right. It's not right. It's not cricket. Listen, it's after 9 o'clock. We've got to go because I'm late. You are incredible. We have been in. Who do you think you are? I'm not sure who you think you are, Trey, but I think you're pretty fantastic. And you, Matt, I know what you are. You're next level. And anyone that wants to know about the next level needs to go talk to Matt because he is next level, and he's a coach, is what he is. He doesn't just run a massive empire of hairdressing genii, but he's also a coach. As are the couple of people in the audience, along with our finance manager. Some important people here today. So if you don't know who they are, click on the face and find out what they can do for you. And for anyone that's here on other mediums, you should have been here. But you're there, which is fine. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in the classroom, out the classroom, looking in, looking out, being the teacher, whatever you're doing. Look at what you're doing and think about who you are and how you want to be, because how you want to be is what you do today. And it is as simple as that. I honestly didn't get it. It can be couched in any terms, but it is about you are what you do. That's not the entire story, because of course if you're born with a disability, it means there's some things that you just can't do, like see, for example. Trey can't see, and it really doesn't matter how much self-development he does, he's not going to think himself into having eyes. So there are some limitations, so we can't just think ourselves into, although there are some people that say we do. They are a different story for a different day, like the people that pray over disabled people in order that they're healed by God. I have an opinion of that, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about it on any chat show anywhere if they like. So we don't do that, but what we do is say do. I like it when I say that. I am so childlike. You see, as Trey said, we need to engage with our child, our inner child. When I say do, it makes me giggle. And there's lots that makes me giggle, and I'm still giggling even in my local authority placement. I've been giggling this morning with you, and I think when somebody said, who do you think you are? I was like, well, I think I'm a person. And I've decided at the end of this exploration that I am indeed a person. I don't think I came to much of a different conclusion. There's a problem there. But I did think right round it for about a week. So I hope that they're happy with their statement of who do you think you are. And for the one that said it, I hope that you can hear this. And if you do, come back to me, because that's who I think I am. I still think I'm a person, and I think I've thought about it, and I'm still okay with that. And it's also led me to all sorts of things, including sharing this event. Don't forget that on the 29th of, Good Friday, actually. It's Easter. It's Good Friday. It's on March the 29th. It's going to be a week exactly after my birthday. It's quite an important birthday. And it's a week after. So I am donations to inclusion. We're going to take it over the 10 grand, ready for that, so that we've got time to award it on the 5th of July. So we've got between the 29th of March and the 5th of July to select, choose and appoint our first disabled entrepreneur. We're on a timeline and we need your attention. If you're there, we're going to be recording. If you want a video recording of yourselves, of who you are, of what you are, if you want some help, there's somebody there to do that. So if you didn't have any video footage and you wanted to come along and book a slot, there are slots to be had. I think that's an amazing offer, because actually you just can't get it. We'll share you that footage as part of your donation, so you can get some footage. And to book somebody to come and film you, it's a few £100. If I was you, I'd come along. So there's all sorts going to be happening. There's also some products that I'm sharing, my story. We're going to be filming some parts of the event. There's free refreshments as you come in, and there's an art gallery with an art installation that's second to none. It's on the water's edge, and it's Good Friday. Literally, it's the most beautiful, elegant and intimate storytelling environment. And believe me, you'll want to know the man that runs the gallery. It's why I'm there, and it's who I am. That's who I am. I think I am Mandy-Jayne, and I am not going anywhere except where I wish. And as Trey said, I think that pretty much we are having exactly what we want when we want, because we believe in ourselves. We're going to go now. I've been Mandy-Jayne. I'm back on Monday morning at 6 o'clock on Clubhouse in MJ's house, and we're talking about who you think you are. We're also talking about it again on Monday night, and at 8 o'clock on Monday night we're moving into the who do we think we are, in terms of how we circumnavigate these systems, because lifespan planning is all about applying what we know. It's all right knowing all this stuff, but we need to apply it. So we're going to be going into stage 1, which is, oh my goodness, I'm having a baby. It's kind of where it starts, isn't it? And I have been going right back, way back when. So what do you do if you're going to have a baby, particularly if you're neurodivergent? What does that mean? It's quite an important subject. And when I was a nursery nurse, which of course I still am, but when I began as a nursery nurse, I never really realised that we'd still be in 2024, where if you have a learning disability, it's very likely that your baby's going to be removed from you. If indeed you manage to complete your pregnancy without being asked to sterilise, or indeed forced to sterilise your baby. If you have a Down syndrome, you will be forced into sterilisation. You won't be allowed to complete that pregnancy, and then you will be sterilised. And there'll be a team of people that will come and engage with you afterwards to try and encourage you to choose to be sterilised. This is still happening. And I never realised. So they're the things I've been learning. That's who I think I am. I think I'm somebody that watches and waits and sees what they really think, as opposed to what they say they think. I have been Mandy-Jayne. I'm a trainee social worker. I'm a Senko. I began as a nursery nurse. I'm going to be talking about what happens when you're pregnant, because I think if I don't, then there's going to be many people on a road to destruction that they didn't know they were on, because somebody's already decided what they are and who they are before that baby's even born, and in particular what they're going to birth. That to me sounds a bit like World War II. So for me, it's a very important narrative. It begins as a thin edge. If you are Down syndrome and your baby's going to be killed, then that's a thin edge of a wedge that says if you're neurodivergent and your child won't be adhering to the protocols, then maybe genetically we need to be choosing not to have neurodivergent children. And indeed, Simon Baron-Cohen has already highlighted on the BBC that because we are selecting embryos to not be neurodivergent, and that's very likely to alter a race. For example, we wouldn't have had Einstein, or indeed anyway. So we're making choices that we're not even aware we're being made. It's a thin end of a wedge, and I'm going to be talking about what happens if you get pregnant and you're neurodivergent, and from that will come all sorts of stories. And that's on Monday night at 8 o'clock after Inclusion, Who Do You Think You Are? Which of course is the very beginning of where we are, because who we are is how we genetically got here and the history of those that came before us. So who do you think you are? 8 o'clock on Monday night, with a different spin to this morning, just like it'll be on Monday morning. No two talks are the same, because as Matt said, I have no idea what I said. I'm going to go and listen back to it now. Have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I'm going to go and coach now, and then I've got some study to do tomorrow. Have a great weekend. That's what I'm doing with mine. I don't know what you're doing with yours, but I know who I am. Who are you? Take care.